Thanks, Bear. Okay, so I thought that today, one of the things that for the check-in that would be good is to turn it over to you all to see, what are the questions that we should be asking for check-in questions going forward. Any thoughts on that? And also, maybe even more importantly, is Sampoistas, what is the proper term for people who are members of Sampo working group? Sampoists doesn't sound right. Sampoers, I don't know. Okay, so the question is, what check-in questions should we ask in upcoming meetings? I.e., what would you like to know from your fellow Sampo folks? And we'll start off. Enti, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I guess the first thing that came to my mind was sort of fun facts about each other. That maybe not really a serious question, but just curious stuff. I'll pass it over to Nate.
Yeah. First, I want to say, first and foremost, we are and have always been Sampies. So, if I had to ask a style of question or like a niche genre of question to my fellow Sampies, I guess it would be something kind of different. We have, in other working groups, we have music and culture and what you're reading. We've got personal, we've got kind of governance. I guess it'd have to do something with money. I think it would be like, if you had this right now, what would you buy type of deal. But yeah, that's just throwing an idea out. I'll pass it over to Irem.
Maybe something along the lines, what's your focus this week? Or if you're relating to initiatives within Sampo, one thing that you would need help with, need feedback with, something you'd like to share the context of Sampo. And then I'll pass it to, and I think Sampies sound really cool. I like that a lot, Sampies. And to the Sampi, who else? I think everyone went to you, Irene.
So Bear, would you like to go?
Yeah, I like Sempis as well. I like Sampoistas as well because it kind of sounds in Spanish, so that's kind of cool. But I don't really have a preference. Both sound pretty cool. And in terms of a question, I don't know. Maybe it would be also kind of interesting, like something more like personal, like a hobby you do, or like like your a place you want to visit, or like your favorite food, or something like more chill from time to time. Might be interesting. Pass it back to you, Guy.
Okay, that's great input. And I think Sampies is the winner, especially the way that you said that, Nate. It made it seem like it was just so obvious. So the question is, how do we spell it? Is it Sampis or Sampese or something else?
Gotta go with the Y. You gotta go with the Y.
The Y. So like this, Sampies. Sampies. Okay, we'll figure this out later. Sampies? I don't know. Okay, we'll figure that out. Super important that we get that right, obviously. Okay, so I think that I made a note here about the time, and we do seem to have lost some folks in this transition. Some regulars are not here, and that could be just because it's summertime. But Bear, we should just talk in our one-on-one tomorrow about whether we need to do anything to just make sure that this transition is. The other thing.
Sorry,
yeah,
I actually just like pinned them like on the Discord just in case maybe they forgot, or or days ago,
Yeah.
like the Discord event that may be happening 1 hour. So just in case. But yeah, let's talk about it.
Oh, great. Thank you. So, and then the other thing is that maybe what we could just do informally, we just doesn't have to be super formal, but I think it would be good for us all to know during the summertime, especially when some of us are going away on vacation. In my case, I have something that has been on the books for a long time. I'm going to be out. We're basically, my wife and I are doing a road trip. So we're going down the coast. So we'll be out August. It says on the dock here, but basically, what I'm going to be doing is between August 24th and September 8th, just because we have a lot of stuff going on in Sampo. I'll be online in the mornings, basically like just about halftime, a little bit less. I'll probably be doing like 3 hours in the morning or something like that early, and then we'll have the rest of our day. So if you all have plans that you know about, that would be great if you could just maybe put them in here in this doc. I'll put a link in Discord. Just okay, and yeah, so I'm going to put it in the chat. And if you can just fill that in, things you know are coming. That way, we all can just be aware of limitations in the schedule as we're planning the next month or so. Nate, do you want to give an update on the Treasury, like next steps with that?
Yeah, so if you haven't read it already, the Treasury policy document is up on the forum. Feel free to comment on it. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. The idea right now for next steps is to have this up for a week and then ratify it through Snapshot. And so once that is done, we will. I'm working on the first investment strategy. This is something that I might need to discuss with some of you individually, just because there's some logistic questions of actually, now that we have this investment strategy, we want to implement it exactly as we stated. And that requires, us all setting up multi-sigs and understanding your capacity to participate in this, whether you want to be a fund manager, whether you want to go through the process. We're going to try to keep everything as simple as possible with this first investment strategy because we have limited capacity. But I still want to get your input as much as possible, and specifically, Bear and NT, you guys have talked about how to manage it, how to set up multi-sigs, possibly even trying to do this on a test net beforehand. And so these are the types of things that I kind of want to go over with you, maybe even on an individual or group basis. So just kind of want to hear your thoughts on that as well. But those are the next two steps, is that we're going to have this policy up for about a week. We're going to ratify it on Snapshot. And then once that is done, we're going to post the strategy to the forum and get that voted on by the community as well before we start the first proposal for funding.
Okay. Thanks, Nate. And just to clarify, in this first proposal, the first strategy is really just focused on the laser tech fund, the stuff that's in the laser tech.
Only the laser tech funds.
Okay.
And I still haven't decided whether that should include the LP tokens or not. That's something that I'll also add as a kind of a question. I'm gonna have a little survey at the end of the forum post for the first investment strategy to ask whether those types of things should be done or not. So just kind of get consensus.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The token engineering request board is Tam is doing the questions. She did them yesterday. I'm going over them today. Jeff Emmett is as well. And we're hoping to get that by early next week. NT, do you want to just give a quick update on where you're at with the form and the forum. And NT, if you're speaking, I can't hear you.
He can't hear us right now.
Okay. All right, I'll give a quick update. Hey, Zepti, welcome.
Hey.
Okay, I'll give a quick update. So we Auntie and I met the other day, agreed that for the form itself, we're going to go with Airtable. Pretty easy to use. We can use it for free. Pretty easy to add functionality to it over time if we want. The place we're going to post it is going to be up in the forum. We thought about switching that over to Discord for a variety of reasons, but in talking it through with Tam, agreed to just keep it on the forum. And the default is going to be that all of the posts that we're going to have initially are going to be public. That means that if there's a client who comes to us and has a project that they really don't want to be public, then we probably will not take that in this initial the initial phase of this service. So the next steps are, this is really going to be simple. This is a super simple version of this release. It's basically just going to be taking the questions. We'll finalize those next week, put them into the form, and then we will we'll take it live. And that's the next step, is figuring out how much and how we're going to promote this. The token holder channel. We actually, Inti and I were able to get the token gate working somewhat up on TC right now on the TC Discord, but we just haven't had a chance to fully test it, and a couple people were having some issues with it. So it's going to need a little bit more testing to just make sure that it's working accurately, but it actually is pretty cool. It's Guild XYZ, and it's it seems to be a pretty powerful tool, pretty flexible in terms of the kinds of things you can do with it. And then Risha and I are going to be meeting right after this call to talk about the content that will be going into that channel. And like all the things that we're doing, we're just trying to focus on radical simplicity, just keep things simple to start and let them grow as they prove themselves over time. So before we go on, any questions or comments about this stuff? No? Okay. Has anybody had a chance to look at let me just show you real quick. I mean, there's not a lot to show, honestly, but if you come into TC and then you go into this section here, which is the community section, there's an invite. You click on that, it verifies. For admins, so Zepti, you're not going to see this because you're an admin, but for anybody else, this will ask you to verify that you actually have a TEC, at least one TEC token in your wallet. And then once you have that, then you get access to this channel. So this will be where we'll be building stuff out, is in here. And, this language, ignore this language. This is all stuff that's just placeholder for right now as we get this going. So that's cool. I mean, it's great to see things are starting to move. I mean, I feel like actually between this and then the Treasury thing going up, and then we're making progress on the token engineering request board. That's probably going to go up next week. So it feels like things are starting to actually move. We've been doing a lot of work over the last month, and now it's starting to show up. So that's cool. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit. Today's going to be a little bit rough because I feel like this is going to be a lot of me talking today. So I really encourage questions and stuff as we're going through this stuff. Otherwise, this is going to feel a little bit boring, at least to me. I wanted to give an update on the curation service. A lot of progress has been made, and so let's just go through this. So this is a tool that DAOstack is developing, and sorry, I just got a little note. So this is DAOstack. It's not going to be just for us, but we will be the first community that they'll be implementing it with, assuming we go forward. And at this point, I've basically done advice process with like most of the key players. Last step, is really I want to talk this through with you all, and then probably with the stewards next week, and then I think we should go for it. That's my recommendation. Basic idea is I think we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to just make sure everybody's clear on what this is. So the idea is that longer term, as a community and as a commons, it seems like knowledge, like the sharing of knowledge, will be a pretty valuable long-term asset or resource that will define a pretty decent part of what we're doing here, right? Is like sharing token engineering expertise. And so this tool is a way for us to get started in just learning how to do that kind of curation, community-based curation. So what is this thing? So the idea is that people can come into the TEC Discord and go to one or more channels in our Discord and post a link to something. Could be a tweet, could be an article, could be something that's more like scientific or research paper or something like that. Could be anything. Could be video, and then people will interact with that post in Discord through emojis, and I'll come back to like what kinds of emojis we can use, and how that can be used to kind of make this very flexible in terms of. But so you've got basically Discord over here, and people interacting with it. You've got the original poster, and then you've got people who are interacting with it. And then in the middle, there is a tool that's like basically like a rules management interface, where you can say like, oh, I want any post. I want to filter for any post that has 3 or more hearts, or I want any post that has 6 diamonds, or whatever it is that you want, right? And again, I'll come back to that in a sec, because the emojis thing gets really interesting in terms of we can vary that in some really interesting ways. And then finally, so you've got the Discord, poster engaging, and then people engaging with the post. You've got rules that define how to filter those posts, and then you have an output. So the output right now is probably just a very simple Airtable that we can then use for kind of creating feeds of really interesting community curated content. Now the question is, what do we do with that content? And so we're thinking right now 3 things. The first is that, like, for lack of a better term, let's say that this is the greatest hits of the TEC community, like the stuff that the community finds most interesting. We would take that and put those results into the token gated channel. It'd be something that only TEC token holders can get access to. So anybody can come into any of the channels where people are posting stuff. Hey Rex. But if you want access to the greatest hits, if you want access to filtered results, you got to come into the token gated channel. Then the other thing is that I had a great call with Acid Laser on Friday last week, and we were talking about using this curated list of content to start making the TEC Twitter profile more interesting, right? Like to be able to use this as a way to uh, basically cultivate really interesting content that we can then share on Twitter. And as part of that process, acknowledge the people who contributed the content as part of that and the writers of that content, so that we're maybe focusing a little bit less. Like I've noticed that on our Twitter account, oftentimes we're talking about ourselves, like our own events and things like that. And this would allow us to like start to basically put out some more interesting information that's related to token engineering and that highlights the work of others and act as kind of a way to help build bridges with like this with new folks who aren't currently connected. So the idea would be we get them, you know, hopefully they're seeing interesting stuff, more interesting stuff coming from our Twitter feed. They might, you know, and we're talking about you can come here and share your stuff here and be recognized in our tweets and in within the community. So it's a way to not just curate some interesting content, but also pull people in and get them engaged, people who are interested in token engineering. I'm going to pause here for a sec. I still haven't talked all the way about the emojis, the flexibility of the emojis and roles and things like that in terms of the filters, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. So let me just pause and see if there are comments or questions. Nothing? Wow.
Well, I just think it's a super cool idea, and I don't know if because you know, like with the Consilience library happening in the Omega working group, like if there's been some conversation with them, or because, for example, like yeah, it's a clear example. I would say that Omega is like the group where all those resources are. So if you go there, like they have thousands of articles and incredible content that I think this is gonna be great because it's gonna give more a use to that. So, but yeah, I'm just wondering that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So yesterday I had a call with Solsista and Mert, and it actually was a great conversation. I wasn't sure how it was going to go because I was kind of wondering, you know, like they've been doing this work for a while and kind of had like a specific design in mind, but they both very interested in this. Like I think they're both excited about it, and so. The primary use case for this will be helping comms and basically like creating this channel for us, you know, for the token holders. But I think that the secondary use case, and I'm pretty clear with them about this, you know, we have to prioritize, and I was telling them like we have to keep this simple to start, but that we should make this tool available to any working group to use, right? In a way, like this is a perfect example of a public good that Sampo is helping to catalyze with the DAO stack. And so I think we work with Consilience Library, with the Omega folks, to make sure that like the working group use case makes sense. So like have them be kind of like the testers to kind of validate that like this would work for what they're trying to do. And some of the things that they're trying to do are a little bit further out there, like federating. You know, they would like to eventually be able to federate and have the Consilience library show up in other communities and then have that come into like one website. That's not going to be possible in this first release, but it is part of the design is to keep this federated rather than be like one central database. The code will be open source. That's part of the deal with DAOstack. Yeah. Does that make sense, Bear?
Yeah, absolutely, makes sense. Yeah, thank you, Ian.
Yeah. Any other questions about this? Oh, I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, one last thing that I will mention is that these emojis are actually pretty flexible. Like we will be able to make it so different working groups can add their own custom emojis and have that as like a special filter. So like it could be that we have some that are broken out by topic. Like it might be like we end up with like a ethics emoji or governance emoji or something like that. There's also this interesting ability to use roles as a part of the filtering process. So we could set this up, and this is one of the things that I was talking to Ram about, is that we could have like certain people as curators. And so you're going to have a bunch of people just like average members, TC members doing stuff. And then, like it reaches a certain threshold, catches the attention of the curators, and they, if they mark it, then it has like a 2x power or whatever it is. We can program it however we want. So we'll have some flexibility in terms of the way that we design these kind of curation models. And actually, in theory, we should be able to tune it so that every working group can design their curation the way they want. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's super cool. There's a grant that we'll probably apply for on this next week, probably around $8K, to see if we can get some supplemental funding for this. And I think that's about it. Anything else before we move on? No? Okay. All right. So I want, just in this last section, and maybe we'll end early today, to talk about like a longer term project that I'm just starting right now that I would love to get some feedback on, probably in August, late August, early September. And this is like thinking about, like it's kind of like a theory of change. I'm calling it like how do we think about this economy, the TC economy, and it's basically kind of like the theory of change is what they use in the philanthropic and nonprofit sector, which is like if you've got a mission and you're trying to achieve certain objectives, it's really helpful sometimes to just outline like what your basic assumptions are about how change actually happens in a particular sector. And so what I'm trying to outline here is basically some base assumptions. One is that that service is like really key to building this economy, this microeconomy. That really, as a community, we've got to shift more of our focus to building services that are going to engage like a new set of stakeholders. We've been really focused so far on a group I would call the builders. That's us, right? Just the people who are coming here are like working with each other to create working groups and to build things, build governance structures, that kind of stuff. But at a certain point, we've got to turn our focus to the token engineers and token engineering professionals who we might see someday, who hopefully will come in here and actually use a set of services or resources from this commons. And so I think this is one of the first big shifts that we've got to make as a community, is seeing service creation as like the heart of what we're doing. So that's the first assumption in here. The second is, it's this realization that the TC is not a corporation. It's not even an organization. It's a microeconomy. And so that means that like things don't work exactly the way that they do in traditional for-profit corporations or nonprofit organizations. And so this is really about like creating like almost like a platform that we can open up to others to grow value, to basically build services that will create value for commons. And this is a longer document. I think I'm gonna stop just like after this next section here. Actually, these two sections. So the next thing is looking at this question of what are the kinds of services that we're going to be building. And this is really focusing it on two types of services. So this is kind of like a shift in maybe some of the way that, definitely the way I've been thinking about it when I started. So the first is basically this idea that there are fee-based services. And the second is that there are public good services. So fee-based services are ones that that in exchange for the utility that they provide to the community, they are paid fees. Now, sometimes it doesn't seem like there are fees, but because the community is paying for those services. So even if you look at like transparency or gravity or even Sampo itself right now, there's a budget. And the community is agreeing to pay, it's basically through conviction voting, we're agreeing to pay a certain amount for these services. And so the question then that emerges, and I don't have the answers to this yet, this is part of what I would like to you all in figuring out. What does that look like for these services to pay back to the commons, for the right, for the privilege of being able to serve the people in this commons and the resources to be able to take advantage of those commons? What does that look like?
I see it differently. When you get the service, you have to pay. What you get back is the service itself or the product, right? Like if the commons needs someone that deal with your conflict or whatever transparency Sampo is doing, what they get back is that service. And
absolutely. Yeah, that's true. But another way of thinking about this, it's almost like a nation state in the sense that you've got a company. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and actually, I think that that's true also. So, like when I use Amazon, I'm getting benefit from using the service, and I'm paying something for it, right? But also, there's the state that's providing all the infrastructure and resources that Amazon and me as an end user are using to be even able to use that service in the first place. And so I think what this is looking at is like, is there something equivalent to that the Commons is doing that's supporting all this economic activity? And how might we make it feasible for both the end users and the providers of service to give something back to the commons in order to make sure that the commons continues and sustains itself? Because otherwise it becomes extractive and the commons can't keep going, and then the whole thing falls apart. So that's the idea.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is a question I've having for a very long time. It's like, the states got taxes and then that's how they fund all their stuff, but we don't have those. And then it's like we keep saying, like we can invest in the economies and then, everything's going to be fine. And then we have public goods, but I hear you. Like, I see the same as you. Like, I feel like we are extracting value for the services and for everything. Like, when we're getting the public good, we're paying the academy. This is great. Everyone can go and learn. This is fantastic. But then how the commons sustain. It's like I'm having this stuff for a very long time now. But I'm happy you're talking to that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm alone. I mean, I know Nate has been thinking about this. I mean, I've heard this from several people, and it's articulated in different ways. But I think that one of the keys into answering this question is to start thinking about ourselves a little bit differently. Like, let's not. I think if we get trapped into thinking of ourselves as a corporation or an organization, that's sending us down the wrong direction. And And so I'll get to the second part of this, and then I think some of this will make even a little bit more sense. So there's this idea of fee-based services that are basically sitting on top of the platform of our microeconomy, and they're making money off of that, and they're creating value as a result. And then there's a second type of service that actually would be run by the TC itself. And I was trying to come up with a simple example of that, but I think our augmented bonding curve is the first version of that, right? We built it with community money. It serves a purpose of helping people to buy into the economy. We don't really charge for that service directly, right? We ask people to pay a tribute to the commons, right? To sustain the commons. So in this model, there's public goods services that are being run by the TEC itself rather than, say, working groups. And this is a subtle distinction. And it's not well thought through enough in this document, right? Like this is an area. I'm sharing this with you all right now because this is like the preliminary seeds of some thinking that I think we all need to do over this next 4 to 6 months. Like this is not going to be something that's going to be done in like 4 to 6 weeks. This is a longer conversation that's going to involve not just us. It's going to involve stewards. It's going to involve the whole community in terms of thinking about how this economy is actually really going to sustain itself over time. And services are going to be the key to creating value. And so then the question is, how do we make sure that in the creating of this value, we don't destroy ourselves, right? We don't just deplete ourselves and have other people having, whether they mean to or not, extract value out of the commons in ways that make it so that it can't sustain itself. And right now, the path we're on is that path. We're on a path where, there's stuff that's being built on the commons, and it's slowly depleting its resources to the point where, if we're not careful, if we don't change the direction, we will run out of resources in the commons and go away. So just the last point on this is, over the last several years in my own writing, I was doing a lot of research into what I was calling automated self-service platforms. So like Google, Amazon, all of these companies that are just huge, like the biggest economic entities or commercial entities that the world has ever known, like by a huge margin, are becoming huge because they are automating the next layer of the economy, which is the service economy. So, we went through the automation of agriculture, we went through the automation of manufacturing. Now we're going into the automation of services. And the way that it looks is it's like you build platforms that allow end users to serve themselves. That's what automated service looks like. And so I believe that our most important public goods services are going to be automated self-service platforms. It's why this curation service is so interesting, because that's like the first example of one of these where we can build this thing, people can come in and use it, and sure, we'll have, maybe Irem and Risha will be kind of working to kind of tune the platform and then help people to come into the platform, but the platform itself is software, and so people can use it. And Zepti, even though I see the transparency stuff or gravity stuff as being more of like a fee-based service, even the stuff like that Rex was doing, I was trying to automate some of that workflow, is kind of an example of this, right? It's like moving the services to have more of an automated component. That is the way that we will create like the kind of abundance that Google has, like where it's just spinning out cash, but all their cash is going to shareholders. And in our case, we want to build platforms, automated self-service platforms that fund and secure the future of this mission in the commons. So I'll stop there. That's probably more than enough.
Now, so I'll put.
So yeah, I'm I'm really excited. I mean, the big picture here is like we have some work to do to actually build some services and get going with the services, and we're making good progress on that. And so, though that's like a higher priority to get those demonstration projects out and actually move us in a path so we can actually start generating some income. But at the same time, we also need to thinking about these bigger pictures, and so that's going to be a longer set of conversations, more than just us. But I see it being catalyzed in this group and then kind of taken out. And I think some of these lessons, some of the things we're learning here, will be useful for us. Any thoughts, or is this an area where people would be interested in participating or getting involved in?
For me, it's just super exciting to listen to what you're saying, Gideon. I totally share this idea and this vision for the TEC, and yeah, I don't really have much to say then. That yeah, this is part of the reasons that I'm here in the TEC and that I want to contribute, because I see like a really bright and exciting future and a lot of value and impact that can be created, and yeah, just like make the world a better place with this. I feel like at the end that's kind of like the end goal. So I'm totally on board with this.
Cool. Well, if others are interested in this is going to be, we'll try to keep this process as open as possible while making sure that it moves forward. And like I said, this will probably be in Sampo season 2. I'm envisioning that this will be kind of a bigger part of what we're doing, is like looking at the economic design of the economic layer. So we'll probably want to bring in some other folks besides just us, like people who, like, I could see YGG plugging in here to help us with that. Like, it's not something that we want to just like guess at. Okay. Well, any other thoughts before? I mean, I think if there's no other thoughts or comments, we can wrap early today.
Thank you, Gideon.
Yeah. Sorry. Zepti, I didn't hear what you said. Did you say thanks, or did you say?
Oh, I said thank you, and I think like the topic you just brought, it's amazing, but I feel like I cannot engage with it right now. Like probably after vacay, it's a good moment. But yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, Gideon.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, everybody. This has been a little bit of a lower energy meeting today. Maybe it's because I'm talking so much, but and maybe it's the change in date. But that's all right. Every once in a while, we have days where things are a little bit slower. Okay. So we'll see you all next week, and thanks everybody for coming. And have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Gideon.
Thank you, Gideon.
Thanks,
Gideon.
Gideon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.